Happy Friday to you here at Bet the Gambit. I'm Kenny White, and every conversation that starts with "Are you sitting down?" may not go well, but I am sitting down today. Moved my laptop yesterday for a show, and then left it down here. I have another show at 9 a.m. Sports by the Book, the South Point. They prefer I sit down because I look down so much. So when I'm standing and I'm looking down, I guess it looks worse than when I'm sitting looking down. So figured I wouldn't go through all the trouble of moving the laptop back up top on the stand to stand up today. So I'll sit down, and happy Friday to you again. Lots of work here. I've got so much in front of me, so much to do. Yesterday, the Denver Broncos put a beat down on the Saints. I guess I'm going to have to raise that rating up on Denver and just drop the Saints pretty good because this team's really struggled. So lose a 1% bet there. I hope you know that, talking through yesterday, the total, and again, I wanted that under so bad, but I couldn't do it. The lowest I could get it with 2.5 point adjustments was down to 35.5, and the total was 37. I'd like a 5-point difference. I was trying to talk myself into it. Where am I going to find a trend, a tangible, some information to get it low enough to bet under? Because I thought it was a dead under game with two very good defensive coaches, two rookie quarterbacks. But there was never a time in game. I didn't watch any of it. I always, if I'm going to sweat a game to bet in game, or not sweat a game, but to find an edge in a game, I'm going to look at ESPN and look at their game tracker and look at the play-by-play and look at the stats of the game. And I like to see how that game's going at on the game tracker. And not once did I see an opportunity to jump in to make it in-game under. Guardians, amazing comeback. They had the lead 3-1. Clase, they're the best closer in baseball against the best hitter in baseball. 2 out of 10 times you're going to get a base hit. 1 out of 25 times you're going to hit a home run, and it was one of those 1 out of 25 times. Aaron Judge hits a liner to right field over the wall, 2-run shot to tie the game. I'm on the Guardians. I feel horrible to now be in peril of losing. I feel good for Judge, though. I really did. This guy struggled so mightily in the playoffs, and there's so much pressure on him, and he's such a great player, and he's a good person. So I root for him. But now I figure I got to win it 4-3 in the ninth, and Giovanni Stanton homers the next at bat off Clase, and I'm not thinking no chance that that's going to happen. And it does, and both were 2-strike pitches. So Yankees go up, they get another run in the ninth, go up 5-3. Guardians down to their last out, and bam, they get the 2-run home run to tie it, and a 2-run home run in the 10th to win it. Guardians get the win. I had the Guardians yesterday. 1% play got me some money back on that, but under in the Dodger game, no bueno. I'm watching the Guardian game and going, I forgot it could be getting cold back east. I'd take a half run off when it's cold and windy, and the wind chill is below 40, but it wasn't below 40. But I did check the weather in New York, and the wind was blowing in from center field. It said 10 to 15, but on the forecast hourly, it was 13 miles an hour. So I figured it's closer to 15 and maybe a little stronger than 15 straight in from center. That's a run. That's a runoff. I can take off that total. So again, didn't bet the game under, which was glad I didn't, but I bet the first 5 innings under, and went under 4, went under 3.5 plus a nickel, half a percent on each one to just kind of average that out. That if it fell 4, I would get some money back. Would take 5 to beat me in that spot. But boy, the 1-2 punch of the Dodgers, there it is. Ohtani and Betts. They swung at 2 great pitchers. Really, I mean, the way Quintana had been pitching, I could put him in the category of a great pitcher. He had been dominating. It was impossible to get runs across the board against him. But when the leadoff guy hits a home run off you and you give up one in the first, if you're going to get to a great pitcher, it's in the first. But they got to Quintana in the third, knocked him out with a 3-run inning, and it was, you get a home run by both teams in the first inning, and the wind's blowing in from center field. I don't know how much it affected play. I didn't flip over and watch that game. Too busy working on women's basketball. So that was the day. A small loser of a day. Hockey wasn't great either, but enough to get by. Rangers win without their number one goalie, and I've got the biggest edge in the NHL with Shesterkin to Quick. Biggest difference to the betting line between those two guys. I'm going to have to look. Jonathan Quick's 38 years old, and he played great with the Rangers last year. I look when I rate these guys out, I see what I rated them out the year before and the year before that. I have those pages, and I look to see what their rating was and to see what they did and have to make a judgment on what they should be this year. And Quick played way better last year than he played the previous 2 seasons. But I didn't raise the rating because I know it's just another year and he's 38 years old. You're not going to get better at that age. So you can stay the same, but I guess you can get better. Maybe Jonathan Quick has gotten that much better. So I'm going to have to raise his rating up pretty good so that I'm not taking 70 cents off. That's such a big difference between goaltenders. But Shesterkin, I have rated the highest in the NHL. His numbers have been great over the years. He's just the best goalie in the NHL. So anyway, we'll go over some of that. I'm going to talk about college football today. The two biggest games of the weekend. Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Tennessee. I'll go over those 2 games with you. If you're a Power Rating subscriber, you got updated sheets this morning. I just emailed them out before the show for college football. Updated betting lines for all games this weekend, Friday's line. So on that sheet, you have my line, the opening line at Circa, the Sunday PM line, which will show you the first moves, Tuesday PM line, a Wednesday noon line, Thursday, I'm not sure what time my line, and Friday, I should have put Friday AM line. I put that on there. So you can see the games, how they're moving and the numbers are moving in the marketplace. It's pretty neat to look at. You can see my number and compare from there. I also sent you the NBA. That's on my mind. I've got working on that. The NFL. And again, this is my busiest month by far. It's not even close. Putting NBA stuff together. Watched the Lakers last night. Dalton Connect was amazing. What a game he had. This is the kid from a small town in Colorado, went to Northern Colorado University. And because he had an extra year, he was able to transfer through the portal to Tennessee. And he had a tremendous year at Tennessee. I think he was the SEC Player of the Year. Lakers drafted him as the 17th pick in the draft. Dalton Connect went off last night. Now, some of it was against, the second string of the Phoenix Suns. And the Phoenix Suns played their starters, though, deep into that basketball game last night. They played their starters. They were in the game 5 minutes to go in the game. And Dalton Connect hit 2 threes in the last minute of the game to send it to overtime, and then dominated in overtime for the Lakers to win the game. What a great performance by him. And, he said all the right things after the game. I mean, they wanted answers. Said, what do you think? Do you think you got a shot? And he says, I'm just here to do my job. I come out and practice every day. And he said the right thing. So it was nice to see. And what a great athlete. What a great shooter Dalton Connect is. Watched Bronny James. And again, oh my gosh. If his dad wasn't LeBron James, there'd be no shot he'd be on a roster in the NBA. Good player, smart player, but he's overmatched. He's probably better than Dalton Connect was out of high school and after his first year of college. Bronny played at USC. Dalton Connect played at Northern Colorado. Bronny was probably better at that point, but Dalton Connect put the time in at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, 22, moved on to Tennessee. And this is a guy that should have never gotten drafted. If he would have stayed at Northern Colorado, he would have never gotten drafted. And he transfers and goes to Tennessee and dominates. And he can do a lot of things. He's not just an outside shooter. He is a really good shooter, above average shooter. But he's got quickness, and he can drive to the basket, and he's got vision, and he can kick it. He can kick it out. Good passer. So last night, I mean, you can see the pro game. It's fast. And I watched, and it was too fast for Bronny James. He was not able to stay up with the speed of the game. But Dalton Connect was very impressive from him. So again, Bronny James was my lowest rated player. I did the summer league. I do it every year. And he was the lowest rated player I had in any team in the summer league rated out. And he's going to be on an NBA roster. He'll make the roster because he'll start the season with the Lakers, because it'll be the first time ever a father and son play in a game together. And then Bronny will be probably sent down to the whatever it is now, the G League, I think it's called. I'm not sure what it's called. D League, Development League, something like that. So anyway, we need some winners. And, I try to continue as hard as I'm working on these other sports to get a feel. So on women's basketball, I'm working on right now, I'm trying to finishing touches on the high school girls coming in. And I've got ratings from girls for the last couple of years. So I know how they did and how highly regarded they were. So going over that, and then, I printed out a list last night of a top 25. Etta Wanda from Rancho Cucamonga last year was number 1 in the country, 32-3. And it talked a little bit about their team, back-to-back seasons. They finished state championship with 3 losses, blah, 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 blah. Nothing there. No players, nothing about any players, which I hope that they would mention somebody, and then I can go and check on the list and see how good they are. Number 14, Mount Verde Academy. I read the little synopsis they had in the team, and top-ranked recruit Jaylani Cambridge sank the last-second game winner of their last game. So I know she's a clutch player and played for the 4th best team in the country. I got to go look and see what had her rated consensus-wise. There was a couple of others. Bishop McNamara, researching this school from Maryland, top 10 school, private school. They won without South Carolina pledge Maddie McDaniel, injured. So I know Maddie McDaniel, she's going to South Carolina. We know the number 1 team in the country, so I know she's really good. So I got to go look her up, make sure she's on all the list. And most likely she is. And, I just go through all those lists. And I found a list from Texas that was good because I want to find out. I found out about one player, South Grand Prairie, last year in the rankings. South Carolina signee Adhel Tack is out for the year with a knee injury. She's going to South Carolina. That high school lost their best player. And, there's just more information and all these. I have to read through all that information, put those notes in my computer so they get printed out on my sheets. And I know a little bit more about each girl on those teams. So, I'm talking about the football, and we're going to go to college football here real quick. And talked about, I wanted to run that. I talked about turnovers yesterday. My friend Ken Murphy, he had Boston College yesterday plus 8.5. And I had under in the game. Thought it was a really good bet. It came down. But when you get turnovers, that can affect the total as well. But it affected Ken. Boston College turned it over a couple times, once going in at the 4-yard line. And I saw it was 28-0 at halftime. I thought, oh boy, at least I got a shutout going. I may get a chance to win my side. But the second half, Boston College comes bing, bang, boom, 3 touchdowns, and it's 28-21. And a couple of those were because of turnovers by Virginia Tech. And then Boston College gets a stop. I'm back to work. I look at this really quick every now and then I get back to work and decide to go back. And that's why I don't like to even see scores sometimes, because it does take me away from the work I'm doing. But I was doing the high school women's college basketball recruiting stuff, so it wasn't something I knew I had to make a great decision on. It was like copy and paste stuff, organizing that data so I could go back and forth. When I'm rating on a team, there's no chance I'm looking at scores, because I don't want to be I don't want my focus to be anywhere but on that team. So if you get into this and you want to be a professional handicapper and do your own power ratings, you want to make sure when you're rating a team out, you have no distractions. So when you're collecting data to use, it's okay to be distracted because that data is that data. So anyway, I was just collecting that data and looking at that score and couldn't believe it was 2021, and then BC forced a punt and had pretty decent field position, but they got stopped on a 4th and 1. I believe it was 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. And that might have taken some of the wind out of the sail. If they get that first down, who knows what happens? And BC may end up winning that football game. But the defense come on the field, and Virginia Tech, I guess, went right down and scored. And then the next drive, there was a turnover and a 61-yard run touchdown. Running back for Virginia Tech, it looks like he's outstanding. He had 2 big runs in that game. So when you got a total under, the last thing you want to see is an 84-yard touchdown run and a 61-yard touchdown run. You want to see, if they score a touchdown, you want to see 14 plays, 87 yards in 8 minutes and 16 seconds. That's what you want to see, but wasn't the case there in that game. So again, small loser on the night, but if you manage your money correctly, you're not hurting today, and you're not looking to find a game that you can bet more on to try to get that back, what you lost yesterday. They were all small bets for me. Something that if I lost, it's not going to bother me. And I've been very, very good with that. And I'd say it's been a good 5-year run, I would say, at least, that I've been really good. The last 3 years, an excellent run. And again, you have to have a process. Figure your process out. Where you're going to get your numbers from, how you're going to make your numbers, compare to the betting lines, have enough money to open up at least 3 accounts to get an edge and get the best number. So that's part of the process. And then you do your homework, you make your number, you get the betting line, you make your bet, and you manage your money correctly, and you're betting 1% on these games unless you see something you really like, have a really big difference on, have some information on, have a feel for, and you bet 2%. And then if it's even better than that, a 3% bet. And then if you continue to find more great information on that game after you've done all your work, maybe it's worth a 4% at that point. And now maybe that's a game that you're really sweating out, but it's still only a 4% bet. So if you have $1,000, you bet $40. Again, if you have $1,000, is that 40 going to kill you? No, it's not going to. That's why you have to manage your money. So, Mikey, give me 30 seconds, please.
Hey, sports bettors, if you're looking for a way to beat the books, go to KennyWhiteSports.com and purchase the power ratings. For just $25 a month, you'll get every sport that's going on. That's NFL, college football, NBA, NHL, college basketball, and more. Visit KennyWhiteSports.com and purchase your power ratings today.
Hey, welcome back. I got to put my mic on, make sure I put my mic on, but it is cold outside. Not singing a song from Dean Martin. It is very cold outside. Oh my gosh, this morning, the wind was blowing, gusting here in Vegas. Last night, the windows were rattling. And this morning I went out there. I love going outside every morning. Again, I have to be honest, I slept in probably the last week now since Major League Baseball started, and I don't have 15 Major League Baseball games to go over. And some days I already have those games done. As you see, I send out a day in advance. I haven't gotten up as early. 5:15 I've been getting up now, sleeping in an extra half hour to 45 minutes. So, but still I go outside by the pool. It's beautiful in the morning. It's quiet as can be. And it's dark enough that I can still see my computer without any glare. Love it. Today, oh my gosh, freezing outside. The wind's howling. I sat out there for probably 15 minutes. And, when the dog is cold and he's wearing a fur coat, it's cold and it's time to come in. So I came in, and I love talking about a lot of stuff other than sports sometimes. I've been watching the documentary. I've watched it before, but I was telling people about it the other night, and I couldn't remember the name of it, and I really couldn't remember all the main points of it. So I decided to watch it again a couple days ago. American Conspiracy. What a great, I don't know if I think it's a documentary. It's a mini series, 4-part, I think, mini series. It's American Conspiracy, the octopus murders. Amazing story. And it all starts with a investigative reporter is murdered. And the federal government wants to cover it up as a suicide. It was the government, the CIA, and they were involved with so many bad things. This took place, a lot of this was in the 70s and 80s, and it is really enlightening about people in power and their greed and hunger for money. And it is just ridiculous. We all want to be in that 1%, and it's never going to happen, it seems like. I mean, it's impossible. You know, I make a good living, but I know that I'll never, ever be in that range. Everybody wants to. We'd all like to have that mind. I'd like to be sitting, but it's so freezing right now. I'd like to be sitting right now in the Bahamas or in Antigua or Bermuda or one of those islands, just sitting there, relaxing, enjoying the morning. And I would bet every day. I would just, go to the computer. I would find somebody that was sharp. I know so many people in this business that bet already. I could, go use their stuff and bet and not even have to do the work and just have fun, work out, and eat amazing meals. That would be amazing. But you know what? It's not like that. I've been working my entire life, and it will continue to do so. But that movie was pretty amazing. This documentary, American Conspiracy. Wow. It is a different world. And they talk about that many times in the documentary. It's mentioned by several people. This is a world you don't know about, and you don't want to know about it, because if you want to dig and find more information about it, somebody's going to kill you. They had a hitman. The CIA had their own hitman. I guess what do you think? He's James Bond or something? But he was a horrible person. He was raping women and killing people. Some people he would kill just not because they had a hit on him, because he just wanted to, I guess. And in the documentary, these guys did a lot of research. And the weirdest thing about the documentary, I noticed yesterday, and then I heard a gal say it at the end, but it starts out with this investigative reporter, really sharp guy, good looking guy, in his late 30s, early 40s, a redheaded guy. And obviously when he aged and he was in the 40s, he had more white hair, and it was like Brian Blessing, my good friend, that's what he would never dye his hair. He says, what am I going to do? I got to go to Sherwin-Williams to get the right color. Brian was such a bright redhead growing up as a young man, and then grayed quickly. And this man did too. But it was amazing that Danny Castellero was the gentleman who was the investigative reporter, and he was murdered. And he was murdered in his this was going to be the last interview he needed to do before he knew that he had all the information he needed to make this public. The last one. He worked on this. He was writing a book, and the book was going to be called The Octopus Murders. He was writing a book, and he'd written books before. I want to go read his books. I'm so entrenched with the story now. I want to go get Danny's books and read some of his books in his early work, because I like to get to know him a little bit more. Amazing person that was doing this for us, basically, that the little person needs to know these things. And he was investigating about this, and he was on his last basically interview, and he should have known something was wrong, because they told him to meet at a restaurant, and he met at the restaurant and no one showed up, and he went back to his hotel room, and he was murdered in his hotel room. They slit his wrist, one wrist 8 times, the other wrist 4 times. And the police called it a suicide because there was a note on the desk. And they didn't go over if it was his handwriting or not, but his wrist, they interviewed the paramedic who was on the scene, who showed up, and they've interviewed him since. Then they have the clip of him as a young man and that time that when he went in, because they interviewed him on the news. And the things he said was, I've never seen anything like this in my life. And when he talked about it now, he said, his wrist was so slashed that the tendons were cut, that the wrist wouldn't work anymore because the tendons were just completely cut. How could he cut the other wrist? He couldn't. It's impossible to do. Somebody murdered him, and all of his documents were gone. His briefcase, his life was in the briefcase that he was writing a book about the octopus murders, was gone, wasn't in the hotel room, wasn't in the car. And the police said, no, it was a suicide. He killed himself. So God bless Brian Blessing. Ron Montoya, thank you. Yeah, Ron, you got to meet Brian. Brian and I used to go to Ron Montoya's basketball tournaments, amazing tournaments that Ron put on. And Ron, you knew every coach there. It was a very, so this documentary was just, I watched it twice now. It's mind boggling to me about the government and the things that they were doing. I feel like they're supposed to be here protecting us, but they sure weren't in the 70s and 80s. I hope things have changed, but I have always known that, I've always known that politicians are there for the money. None of them are there because they know, and they want to be public servants, but they want to do some good. But man, they got great information on so many different areas of the world that they make money, and they're in the right circles with those type of people that they know what's going to happen, and people are asking them for favors so that things do happen. So it's a shame that is the way it is. But anyway, let's talk sports. I'm sorry I got off on that tangent, but I want you to watch that American Conspiracy, the Octopus Murders. It is unbelievably mind-blowing, especially if you grew up in the 70s and 80s and didn't know this kind of thing was happening. The Ronald Reagan getting elected president, beating out Jimmy Carter, wasn't a thing. 2 months before the election, Carter probably had the lead, and it ended up being a landslide because we had U.S. prisoners that were captured in Iran for 12 prisoners were held captive in Iran. And this documentary shows proof that Ronald Reagan's staff took $40 million to Iran and asked Iran to hold those prisoners until after the election. And everyone no one liked they thought Jimmy Carter was not handling the situation well, and the prisoners did not get go. So Ronald Reagan won in a landslide. And when he was announced as the new president of the United States, 2 hours later, the prisoners were released. Amazing stuff. All right, college football. Here we go. Georgia and Texas. Kirby Smart for Georgia. All this guy does is win. 99-17. So I wanted to bring up. He's won 99 games in his career at Georgia. Doesn't seem right. Seems like he should have more than that, but it was 94 coming in. He's won 5 this year, going for win number 100 in this game. That's always big. Your team is going to play good. They're going to play good anyway. This line went up during the week. I made it higher. I have Texas number 1 in the country right now. I have Texas number 1 in the country. I have to trust my ratings, and I'm going to go back to last night's game. I've seen what's happened. I've lost some bets against Denver. I had them the lowest rated team in the league coming into the season, but I know Sean Payton's a really good coach, and he did well last year. He didn't cover spreads, but he won games. So I raised them up a little bit. I raised Denver up more than I wanted to at the beginning of the year, and they've overachieved for me now. Maybe they're not overachieving and they're better than they are, but I still felt the numbers on Bo Nix were well below average. Well below averages of quarterbacks going on the road struggle. So again, I'm going to make more adjustments, look through that box score, see what happened in that game, yards per play, 4th down conversions, 3rd down conversions, and how the teams did on those. And I've got my system down pat, and I'll adjust. I could over adjust a little bit more because I don't want to lose on those games. But I stick to the process and bet what my numbers say, because your eyeball test is not going to win in the long run. I know that. I've seen this for too many years. You have to have the work and the process behind it. But anyway, my eyeball test says this is way too many points. Way too many points. I made it 9. I made Texas 9. They're at home. They've got a great home field. They're the number 1 offensive team, the number 1 defensive team. They're the number 1 team overall, a 132.5 rating. Their performance rating has been a 129.5, 3 points below what I have them rated. So that's a little scary. Georgia on the other side, 8th best offense, 11 on defense. And that's because they give up 41 at Alabama and 31 last week in a game they didn't care about. The other 4 games, they gave up 3 to Clemson, 3 to Tennessee Tech, 12 to Kentucky, and 13 to Auburn. Sometimes stats do lie, especially when it's a small sample size of 6 games. I hate to have this team as the 11th best defense because I know their talent's better than that. I have them 3rd best in the country, though, 129 rating. Their performance rating has just been a 118.5, though, 10 points below. Remember, I had Texas 3 points below. So we'll see how it works out. I didn't bet it. And Alex White, my daughter, and I were talking about this game on Tuesday on Sports by the Book. And as soon as I mentioned I made Texas 9, we went down to eat breakfast. And I'm looking at the screen going, Texas is 5 now. She said, what? Because she asked me, do you think Texas will go down to 3? And I looked at the market and there were 4s out. And I said, no, there's no, with 4s in the market, I just don't see that happening. And I was right. It wasn't going down to 3. It went to 5. Now, if, there are betting groups out there that are major betting groups and can manipulate the line. And they do have dummy moves. Billy Walters was the best. Billy Walters was the best at manipulating the line and moving those numbers. And this would be a game that Billy would try to run this to 6 because he'd want 6 with Georgia. And he would put himself in a situation where he laid 3.5 and 4 and let every other follower then move this game up to 5, 5.5, 6. So he got the best of the number. The followers got the worst of the number. And then Billy got what he wanted, the +6. I would love to have -3.5 and +6 on every single game. Everybody out there, you watching the show, of course, you'd want the same thing. That type of middle is you can't lose. In the long run, you can't lose. If you only need to hit 1 out of 20 to break even. 1 out of 10, you've got a 1 out of 10 chance. That's how big of the difference is. So you're going to make a ton of money if you have those type of middles. And Billy was able to create those middles for himself. I don't know if this is a game that somebody did that. When I make my number as high as I do, I don't think so. If this was me and it was Billy Walters and Billy Walters' number 1 guy gave him Texas 9, he would probably be betting Georgia to drive it down to 3. He probably would have taken the 3.5 and 4s and driven that down to 3 and then waited till Saturday when everybody's limits go up, and he would have crushed it on Saturday. So his staff only worked, they worked like 11 to 5 Monday through Friday. But on the weekend, they worked 8 a.m. until 6 at night. That's where his staff worked those hours. So they were crushing games on Saturday, but those were all games that he had set up during the week. A lot of games. He probably set up almost a third of his games probably were setup games. So had to go back in and get that. Let's go. Georgia, Texas. I made it 9. Again, Kirby Smart going for his 100th win. Carson Beck is quarterback. 68% passes, 8.7 yards a pass, 15 touchdowns, 5 INTs, 3-to-1 ratio. He's the number 4 rusher on the team. Quinn Ewers for Texas, back, 72% completions, 8.2 yards a pass, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 3-to-1 ratio. Arch Manning played against a little lesser competition. Arch played against Texas, San Antonio, Louisiana, Monroe, and Mississippi State. Ewers came back versus Oklahoma, and he played against Colorado State and Michigan. So he did play against the far better schedule because Arch Manning's numbers are way better. 71%, 11.6 yards a pass for Arch, 9 touchdowns, 2 INTs. He is Cooper's son, Eli and Peyton's nephew. And, he can run too. Cooper was a wide receiver. So it looks like Arch has the best of the family talent, that he runs like a wide receiver like his dad, and he throws like his uncles. He's rushed 13 times for 82 yards and 3 touchdowns so far this year. Dual threat quarterback. Can you imagine a dual threat Peyton Manning or dual threat Eli Manning? Could you imagine that if there was a dual threat Eli Manning? Wow. That's Arch Manning, and he'll be the starting quarterback next year. I just can't see how Ewers is going to have to come out or leave if he wants to play college football again next year. I really think after this year of playing time, Arch Manning beats him out. And if Ewers struggles anytime anytime in the near future, I think Arch Manning gets the shot. On the year, Georgia. Now, I made this total 63, and that's basically why I'm talking about the game, because I did pass the side. I want to look and see where that total's at. I could go to my sheet, but it's easier to look at the Spank on screen. 57.5 now. It has gone up. I've talked about this total over. It was 56 when I talked about it over. It is 63. Two great quarterbacks, and Georgia is throwing the football. They're putting it in Carson Beck's hands and telling him to throw it. Trevor Etienne, their running back, has had a really good year. He's a stud. They will give him the ball. They will run it, but they're passing it 56% of the time, the Georgia offense is. And last year, they were 52% run. They were really well balanced. This year, they're pass heavy. They're playing faster this year than they ever have. Last year, 29.5 seconds. This year, 27.3. Texas, 53% run. This year, last year, 54%. Steve Sarkisian's team is playing identical to last year. Their pace is pretty close. 25.8 seconds last year, 26.6 last year, 25.8 this year. They're playing slightly faster this year. They went from 55th fastest team in the country to 36 this year. That's good for the over. We know they're pretty much well balanced, and their quarterbacks can do it and get the football down the field. So Kirby Smart's team is 4-2 under Texas 3-3 with the total this year. But man, you got two great quarterbacks. Texas has scored at least 30 in every game this year, and Georgia has scored in 30 points in 5 of their 6 games. So Georgia's played the 29th ranked schedule in the country. Thought I wrote this down for Texas. Where's my pace stats? Because I have that in there. Texas, number 41, strength of schedule, number 41 for Texas. So not a big difference between the two. A lot of people say, who has Texas really played? Colorado State at home, at Michigan, Texas, San Antonio, Louisiana, Monroe, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma, because Oklahoma's offense has struggled. So people say who they played. 41st schedule, that's who they played, because Michigan at Michigan was a tough test. The Colorado State's a good coach. Texas San Antonio's coach is a good coach. Louisiana Monroe's coach he's solid. And Mississippi State is an SEC football team. They haven't played well because they've lost a lot of talent there since Mike Leach passed away. They lost a lot of guys. And they fit players to fit Mike Leach's system, which they don't run anymore. Similar, but not the entire system. So it's different coaching staff. It's a rebuilding job there, but they still have SEC athletes. So the schedule wasn't that bad. So there you go. My number's Texas 9-63. This number went up. If it was 3.5 on game day, I would probably bet Texas. But again, my eyeball test, my knowledge of the game, I think Texas is a little better, or Georgia is a little better than what I have them rated, even though their performance rating is 10.5 points below my rating. And I've been talking about that those numbers could come together. But the performance rating could have come all the way up. 2-3 really good games in a row by Georgia, and their performance rating will be higher than their rating, but we'll have to see. This will have to be it. This will have to be the game. Turnovers will mean the difference in this game. And Texas, for as good as they've been, they're only +3 this year in turnovers. Georgia is -1 in turnovers on the year. So there you go. Remember I said you can't predict turnovers. Crazy things happen. Two of the best teams in the country right here are not dominating in the turnover battle. So there you go. Alabama, Tennessee, the other great game we have this weekend. Caleb DeBoer will really be tested. They have a loss. It'd be really difficult if they suffer a second loss, as Georgia cannot afford another loss. Alabama's played the 14th best schedule in the country, and Jalen Milroe is having a year. Great quarterback, 73% completions, 11.2 yards per pass against the 14th best schedule in the country, 12 touchdowns, 3 INTs. He's their second leading rusher, 319 yards and 11 scores. He has accounted for 23 touchdowns for Bama this year. They didn't play well against South Carolina after the Vanderbilt loss. They were ready to go at home against Georgia. We'll see if they're ready to go on the road at Tennessee. The last time they were at Tennessee, they lost 52-49. Josh Heupel's first year. And then last year, Saban got the revenge with a 34-20 win. 54 points scored in that contest last year, 101 scored the year before. My number, Tennessee, 2.5 and 66. We know the market number on this game all week has pretty much been Alabama, the favorite 3 on top. I'll go to the sheets I sent out this morning. And I see that I left an extra space to make sure these games did not run over and you wouldn't have to look. I'm going to clean these up and resend them. Alabama. Where are you, Alabama? Josh Heupel's done a really good job. He is a genius offensive coach. So I made it 2.5, 66. Total opened 59.5, was bet down to 56, but it's on its way back up. You should have caught the 56. It went to 57 yesterday, 57.5 today. I think you'll see that go up again. The Tennessee side, I made 2.5. Circa open, Alabama 1, went to 2.5. And then on Monday went to 3, and it's been a steady 3 all week. I didn't play the game because it was crossing 0 when I saw it, 2.5 to 1. I don't mind opposite side favorites and crossing 0 as long as I'm getting more than a field goal or a field goal. So now the steam is least betted up into a play for me. So I'm looking to bet Tennessee, and I'll bet Tennessee a 1% play tomorrow. On Saturday, I could bet it this afternoon. If I have the time, I'll look. At a wedding tonight. I will not be here tomorrow. It'll be Alex White, my daughter. She will do the show for you tomorrow. Finally get kind of a day off. I am sleeping in tomorrow, so don't call me early in the morning, Indiana Dave. Don't text me. I'll be up around 8 probably. That's sleeping in for me now. So wedding tonight. Friend of my wife's, and then tomorrow sleeping in. Alex White has the show. She'll give you some updates on some good games. She may touch on these games. Who knows? I know we got a lot of new people watching every day, and I appreciate you guys. Please like and subscribe to the show. We continue to build here at Kenny White Sports and want to continue to make the show better. We want to get graphics. Got so many things to do. I am so busy, though. My man Mikey Vogel is producing the show today. I told him I'd talk to him after the show yesterday. I went long, couldn't talk to him, and I was so busy all day. I never got a chance to talk to him all day long. I needed information from him because he talked to our guy Greg D back in North Carolina about graphics, about the show. And I'll be doing a show today. I believe I'm doing a show today with Mark Lawrence and Jim Feist. Kenny White, Mark Lawrence, Jim Feist, all together on one show. And I told Mark Lawrence that in August. I talked to him. I said, Mark, if you and I did a show together, I think we'd get great traction on that, the two of us together. And he said, Friday is the only day I have. He is that busy himself that he couldn't do it. So we're going to try to connect here, and maybe the three of us, Jim Feist, Mark Lawrence, and myself, will talk football for an hour on Fridays. We'll see. We're working on that. I think we're doing a show today. It's either that or a conference call to figure out how we're going to do it. We'll see about that. And again, I'll be on Sports by the Book at 9 a.m. I'll try to write up another game or two for you to talk about on Sports by the Book. So there you go. I like the Georgia-Texas game over, a 1% play. I like the Alabama-Tennessee game over, 1% play. You know, I don't like overs. So it's going to be very rare for me to say I'm betting over and it's a 3% play. I'm betting 1% on those. I'm going to throw in 3% plays when I find really strong underplays, which I thought yesterday Virginia Tech and Boston College was. But again, when you get those type of long touchdown runs, you have no shot. When you have turnovers that create scores, you have no shot. Remember, turnovers are such a random occurrence. It happens less than 1% of plays in a football game. So there you go. I'm going to bet Alabama, or not Alabama, Freudian slip. I did that a couple times last week with a game and I won, so I'm not worried about it. It was 5-1 on my biggest plays last week. There were matches with my dad, and I like to match up with my numbers with his because we're doing a lot of the same homework, but we do have some differences. So it's nice to see those differences and what they are and be able to adjust to them. But I'm not betting Texas, even though I'm in at 9. If it was 3, I would lay it because I just, Georgia is so good. And again, I hate laying favorites. So when I would bet these anyway, it'd be a small play. But Texas will celebrate like they won the national championship if they win by 1. The kids will storm the field and tear the goalposts down if Texas wins by 1, but they didn't cover because those college kids don't have a bet on the game. The alumni will not be happy because they're betting the game and they're laying the points. Maybe that's why this number went up. The other one, I will take 3 on Tennessee, but I bet both those big games over. You got great quarterbacks on both teams. I gave you Milrose stats, Beck and Ewers, those guys. Georgia, 8th best offense. Texas, the number 1 offense. Alabama, the 6th best offense. And Tennessee, number 7 now. And they were better than that early in the year because they dominated a couple games early and then put up great stats. They scored 69 against Chattanooga, 51 against NC State, and 71 against Kent State, and then 25 on the road at Oklahoma, 14 against Arkansas, and 17 against Florida. So that offense has come back to earth, but they still 9th best offense. So 2 great offenses. All right. And if you're a Power Rating subscriber, you got the NFL updates, and it all fits on one page, which is nice. If you're not a Power Rating subscriber, go to KennyWhiteSports.com, subscribe now, $25 a month. Get you all that information. So let me see here. Baseball. Good thing there's not a lot of games, baseball and hockey today. So I'll get you out of here real quick. Yankees today and the Guardians. I didn't get a chance to look this up. You know, the win-loss record, ERA, base on balls, strikeouts, whip. All year it's been, you know, their season ratings. And now the site that I data mine for to get that information automated to put on my sheet instead of me typing it in and there be an error, I know it's going to be correct, and I use their data, now uses playoff data only. So Luis Gil and Gavin Williams have not pitched in the playoffs. They don't have any numbers in the playoffs. So both these guys have been off for an extended period of time. And I wanted to look that up to tell you about it, but I didn't get a chance to. Luis Gil last pitched on 9/28 in a real game, September 28th. I'm sure that he's thrown some simulated games, not the same. Your focus is not the same as it is in a game. There's nobody watching. There's nobody in the stands. So it's not the same. It's nowhere near the same. And Gavin Williams, 9/22. And if you'll see on the power rating sheets, I have these guys rated about average now because I took 10% off their rating. Gil's an 80 and Gavin Williams an 85 because he has pitched well at home this year. And he pitched well down the stretch. So looking at these two guys' last 5 starts, Gil had a great year too. Luis Gil was amazing for the Yankees. He's probably one of the biggest reasons why they're there in the playoffs because the season he had, and they were able to depend on him the entire year. 5 innings, 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts was his last 5 outings in September. Gavin Williams, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. So Gil's numbers were better overall, and even home and away. Looking at that, maybe Gavin Williams had a little bit of pressure at home because his numbers on the road were better than they were at home. But I still gave him a good rating. I gave him kind of his overall rating, and he's a rookie. Gavin Williams is. He's a number 1 pick. He's a high prospect in Major League Baseball, and Gavin Williams is going to be a stud for the Guardians. And they've got great pitching coaches there in their organization, obviously by the bullpen they have and their starters year after year after year. These guys, they come up with guys that are simply amazing. And Gavin Williams is a guy that's got great potential. But being off as long as he has now, 27 days, and then Gil off 20 days, man, I don't think those guys could be effective. I made this game Yankees $1.48 and 8. The market was smart. They bet the 7.5 up to 8. So the total's gone. There's nothing there. It is, though, kind of a game that I talked myself into because it's kind of like a cluster injury. The more injuries there are in a certain section of a football team, the more it's worth to the betting line. I think then you have 2 pitchers that have both been off this long. One of these guys could have a bad enough inning to help get this game over. So there are 7.5 still in the market. It dropped down. I'm going to bet this as soon as I close it off with you today. I'm going to go over 7.5 in that game. and I did bet the Yankees at $1.15. They're up to $1.20. Again, I made them $1.48. It's a 28-cent play. Maybe you could find better than that. I see $1.17 at Superbook at the Westgate if you have that account there, or $1.13 at a paperhead place. So maybe offshore stuff you can get even better line. Betting the Yankees, betting the game over, both 1% plays. The Dodger game, I made Flaherty $1.65. He's the favorite on the sheet. I typed in exactly what was on the Spank odds screen. Circa probably put this in their system incorrectly, and they put in the Mets the favorite, and then they changed it right away to the Dodgers the favorite. So the Dodgers open 30, but bet down to 125. That is the best number I see in the market, $1.25 at Circa. I made him $1.65. That's Jack Flaherty against David Peterson. And I'm going with Flaherty. The Dodgers playing well, one game away now from clinching this. But the hardest game to win is the clincher. And when you have your backs to the wall, you play your best. So we might see a good game against the Mets. But the price, I have to stick with the process. Actually, I don't really have to stick with the process because the two things I just mentioned, I'm not betting the Dodgers today because they won last night. Again, the hardest game to win is the closeout game. And the team that's got their back to the wall, I'd rather be looking to bet them, even though there is pressure there. Still pressure on the Dodgers, but the Dodgers know they have 2 home games. They could exhale and say, wow, we only got to win 1 and we've got 2 home games. So that's another reason I'm not betting it. Past that, nothing on the day game for me. I made the total 7.5, and it is 7.5 everywhere in the market. So can't give you anything there, but I have 2 1% plays, Yankees today and the game over the total. Hey, folks, we're back NHL today. Friday's games, Friday the 18th, Carolina at Pittsburgh. Frederick Anderson, I made $1.15 against Joe Bloomquist. The total, I made 6 under 17 on the sheet, but with a backup goalie, this total 6.5 under. I'm not playing it under. This could be a 3-3 game very easly, and I would end up with a loser. Joe Bloomquist, if it was the starting goalie, Jari for the Penguins, I would play it under, but I don't think we'd be looking at 6.5 at that point. Connor Hellebuck today is going against San Jose. There's a great defensive team. I made the total 5 under 15. It is 5.5 over a quarter. So we can go under 5.5 plus a nickel. Love it. 1% play there. The late game, Anaheim at Colorado, my numbers pretty much shadow that. At the total, I have 6 over a quarter, and they have 6.5 over a quarter. But I'm not really interested in the under there. Again, this is early in the season. Colorado, I'm waiting for this team to explode, and when they do, they may put up a bunch of goals. So I'm going to pass that one. I do feel very comfortable with Connor Hellebuck in goal and an under trend with Winnipeg and San Jose, a weak offensive hockey team. So under 5.5 is the only play out in the hockey. So that's it for me today, folks. I hope you have a great Friday. Catch me again at 9 a.m. Sports by the Book today. And then tomorrow, Alex White will take over at 7 a.m. for me. It's on Bet the Gambit. And then I'll be back with you Sunday, 8 a.m. on Sunday, Bet the Gambit. So guys, have a wonderful Saturday, Friday, and Saturday. Thank you very much.